All right, all right. Well, welcome to today's broadcast. Boy, we're in for a powerful program today. My good friend Charles from Noble Gold is here, and wow, he's got a brand new book that's out that I think is going to just blow your mind called Government Lies Exposed. And we're here to talk about the cost of war. Or is it a cost? And what does this all mean? Charles, great to have you on the broadcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always glad to be here.
Charles, we're in a time like we've never seen before. I mean, we're dealing with the fact the President of the United States is on this unbelievable trip in Asia, stopping in Hawaii, revving up the troops at the War Memorial and checking on the troops in Hawaii, then go to Japan, meeting with the troops, go to South Korea, meets with the troops, meets with the President Abe of Japan, President Moon of South Korea, and last night he threw the gauntlet down, basically gave us about 100 reasons why Kim Jong-un should not exist in charge of North Korea. But I want to ask you, with this situation developing, what is your take on, I mean, obviously the Japanese said they're going to buy quite a bit of defense contracts from us, quite a bit of defense rockets. He said they'll be able to shoot those rockets out of the sky. What does that mean economically for America?
Great question. It really comes down to, it's a multifold thing. It's not a one answer fits all here. There is a cost to war, but there's also a benefit to war. And most people don't realize that. And like you're saying, those military contracts, the defense industry makes a lot of money on those contracts, especially when you have a scenario where they're going to take some of our older technology and repurpose it and sell it. So there will be an influx. And if we're looking at, this economy as it is now, we need more quality jobs. And those are the jobs of quality. Those are the jobs that are not going to pay you minimum wage. If you can get into a defense contract and you're building any of these weapons that are for sale, it's a good job. So we're going to see an influx from that.
So in other words, they're going to sell off the old inventory to some of the other nations, maybe some of the nations in Europe, like Romania, Czechoslovakia, Estonia. Some of that's going to move over maybe in the European area, maybe even the Middle East. Maybe some of it winds up with the government now in Iraq, now that we've basically got rid of. So you're saying we'll sell off some of our old stuff and we'll be producing new stuff, and then we'll be selling that new stuff as well to the Japanese, to the South Koreans.
In time, yes. Now, and this is where it gets tricky. You have to look at, and when you're looking at jobs like this, they're obviously revolve around government. Even if you're in the defense industry, if you work for one of the defense department manufacturers, you're quasi-military, quasi-government employee, okay, to some degree. So you'll have the government has to go out and begin the initial spending on this. Now, the whole thought on this is a trickle-down type of an economy scenario where the government will put forth this money in new funding. So there'll be an initial tax burden on us because we'll have to increase the budget some. And this is where it gets tricky. But that will go directly towards jobs and good paying jobs and a product that we can sell further down the road that the government can make its money back if they handle the rest of their fiscal responsibilities responsibly.
So it's amazing. So what a balancing act. Okay, for one hand, Trump's over there revving up everybody that North Korea, Kim Jong-un needs to go away, and he's going to put pressure on the Chinese and the Russians. We just got confirmation he's going to be meeting with Vladimir Putin in Vietnam during one of these conferences, during the APEC conference. So he's going to meet with Vladimir Putin. He's going to have the media back in Washington still probing around, trying to find collusion. When it's collusion's right in front of him with Hillary Clinton, but that's another story. But he's going to be he's trying to tell the Japanese, you better buy our stuff to protect yourself because we're about ready to smack them. He's doing the same thing in South Korea. Then he's going to go to China and say, look, you need to squeeze this guy. You need to get rid of my problem. And if you do, we might be able to work out, more open trade? What do you see? What's going on? I understand it's pretty tense trade talks is what we're hearing going on right now in China.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things. Open trade is very important. We have such a trade deficit with China. Okay. So really, that conversation could look something as simple as we're going to overlook some of this deficit. If you allow us to gear up for war, you let us get our economy strong again in this way, and then make sure that we don't have to go and shed any blood, we're going to work out a deal for you. Because that's the best situation for us. If we can get rid of that crazy man without killing anybody, that's a beautiful scenario. And if you let us build up our war economy again while we do it, now you've really done us a favor.
And so, right, it could
understand this. This is just the economics of it all. This is not the humanity side of it all.
Right, and there's a little bit of both going on. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of both. Trump's looking at, look, we got to get rid of this guy. He's butchering his own people. He lines people, fills up a stadium and tells people, come to the stadium. We're going to show for you. Then he brings people out in front of the people and mows them down machine guns. I mean, this is a guy that fed his uncle who put him in power to the hound dogs and let 120 hound dogs eat him alive. He shot his aunt in the head, had his ex-girlfriend killed, had his half-brother assassinated in Malaysia. He's trying to kill another one of his brothers right now in Indonesia. I mean, this is a ruthless, this guy believes he's God. I think last night President Trump called him a cult leader and that this was the largest cult in the world. I mean, what's your take on that?
It is. And it's the worst kind of cult because they are actually captive. They can't even make another choice. That's the thing.
Well, I've always wondered about why in the world haven't they assassinated? You got to think that there's some of these guys that are up there and at the top it's got to be rolling around their head. Man, we got to take this guy out. I mean, or are they this afraid, or are they so brainwashed that they believe he truly is a god, just like his grandfather and his father?
I think it's a twofold thing. They are brainwashed, but I also believe that if you're that high up to where you actually have access to them, you have a very good life there.
Well, there's two classes of people. There is the elitist of North Korea, and there's the rest of the folks. And the rest of the folks, they live in squalor, and they've got prison, slave camps, they've got torture camps. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's just unbelievable. But we're hearing stories like their military has been told, guys, go steal the food, in the fields, and if you have to, do what you got to do. Just be ready to fight when the Americans show up. So, look, one hand, he can fire an intercontinental ballistic missile and can launch satellites. And the other hand, his soldiers are digging for food. So, what's the story?
That's a madman. That's just the definition of a madman.
All right, so President Trump's been to Japan. He's got the Japanese eating out of his hand. They're getting ready. The guy was sitting there, President Abe was sitting there shaking his head, yes, we're going to buy lots of stuff. Okay, so that's a done deal. Now he goes to South Korea. They're a little bit more nervous. They're next door. They really don't want war. They don't want bloodshed, yet they didn't even want us to put up the THAAD missile defense system. And there was even some protesting in the street. They didn't want Trump come there and cause a war. He's saying, look, you've got a war. You've got a dangerous madman who's going to soon be able to push a button and nuke Seoul, South Korea if he wanted to. You got to deal with this. We've kicked this can down the road too far, Charles, way too far.
Absolutely. And, you look at it from the Japanese point of view, too. They haven't been allowed to really have an army since World War II. We're giving them a go-ahead to take care of themselves a little bit. Obviously, they're interested in that. How could they not be?
Right. This is a game changer for them because for the first time, they're getting the okay to start having an offensive army instead of just some defense. And the United States sitting there taking care of it. So this is a game changer. This will change the mentality long term for the Japanese people. And we'll have to watch how that plays out. So, folks, our guest is Charles from Noble Gold. Charles from Noble Gold, I tell you what, he has a great company. He will help you diversify your 401k retirement plans. Take a look at all the things that you may be doing. Some of you are getting ready to retire. You're thinking, what do you do with your 401k? What do you do with it? Well, you need some experts to help you. And that's what Charles is at Noble Gold. There's this on the screen. There's the telephone number. You can pick up the phone and call him at 877-646-5347. Or get when you go to his website, you will find he has a brand new book. It's an ebook. It's free, called Government Lies Exposed. And it was written by Charles and John Williams. Tell us a little bit about John Williams that helped you with this book.
Yeah, John Williams has been an economist for quite some time. Highly respected man. He started his own website and his own little project called Shadow Stats. And really what he does is he goes in and deciphers all these numbers you hear about on the news, the CPI number, the inflation rate. What does this mean? And he digs in there and finds out the truth about it. He takes what the government tells you is real and exposes you to the truth of the matter. What's the real number? Not what they just told you, but using economic principles tells you the truth about where we're at, where those numbers really are. And it's going to open up a few eyes. I think when you go through there and you read it, you won't necessarily be shocked. I don't think anyone's shocked nowadays that the government's been lying to us for a while. But I think to the level at which we've been deceived may shock you. So,
wow, Government Lies Exposed, Part 1, Inflation. And this is a powerful ebook, a free book, if just by simply logging on, going to right there's the link right there on the screen. And I'll also put that in the description so you can just click on it. It'll take you right there. And you can download it. I think Charles says once you do that, you'll get the book in, 2 days? Shows up on an email. So it's be a great, great read. And it's probably going to answer all the questions that you've already had about how the government's lying to us. Well, wait till you find out what you're saying is just how bad they're lying to us.
Right. And the way I like to describe these, it's going to answer the questions you have and then cause questions you didn't even know you had.
Oh, thanks. That's all I needed. Okay. All right, Charles. Now, as we're talking about these things, I mean, so President Trump, he's no doubt, China really welcomed, they really welcomed him. They put on a pageant. They had the children saying, "We love you, Donald Trump." They were singing, "We love you, we love you." And I understand that, Trump is now in the room. Now they say the tension of trade is rising. But don't you think at the end of the day, Trump is going to try to get the Chinese and maybe the Russians both to agree to remove Kim Jong-un? And my question to you is, how do you just remove him if you're China? Do you just walk in and take him out? Or do you offer him an exile? I mean, what's the deal?
They'll probably offer an exile, but he's a madman. He thinks he's God. So that's not going to be the option that's chosen.
So, I mean, he's communist, and the Chinese are communist, but we're dealing with somebody you say is deranged, that they've taken it to another level. Because I don't get that feeling from the Chinese presidents that they're not teaching their people to worship them. They are teaching them to be fully dependent upon the government as communists. You will do it the communist way or else. Yet, don't you think now that they got Hong Kong, that they see a little bit of capitalism and how it works, and they're thinking, what are we doing?
I think what you see there is that turning over of Hong Kong back to China introduced them to a new form of control that they can take to get to world domination. And let's being real honest and pure about this. They are interested in being the rulers of the world. Most nations are. So that is something they're interested in. They are unique in the manner that they are willing to, what is referred to, playing the slow game. They're willing to let it take time. They've made moves over the past, 50 years that gives them the ability to be put into that circle of possible world leaders, okay? Governmental powers, countries that rule the world. So with that, you see them saying, okay, be dependent upon us. We now have this taste of capitalism, but we know how to use it for our ultimate goal.
So, I'm thinking about this all the way out now. Then, so is Trump? I mean, look, we're $21 trillion in debt. Trump says we got to fix that. That's a problem. We can't. We're going to get over leveraged if we're not careful. China already owns a lot of our debt. Japan owns a lot of our debt. Okay. And I'm understanding that Trump is trying to sell some more debt. I don't know if that's what you're hearing out there. And can you help guys like me? Can you break that down for me in layman terms? What does that mean? Somebody buys the debt. What does that mean?
In a scenario like this, you're probably looking at something as simple, and we've talked about it a little bit. The Federal Reserve has $4 trillion of equities and debt on their books that they bought. Okay. And equities and debt, that debt specifically is money that we printed, okay, and circulated into the economy. And it comes in the form of a T-bill, a bond, a debt instrument. So a scenario like this, it could be quite simple. And if you look at Japan, this is a very easy yes for them. They buy our debts anyway because their own currency is in such a deflationary period that it doesn't make sense for them to hold their own money. They want to get it outside of their scope. So we say to them, you know what? You have a lot of our debt already. I want you to take another $1 trillion in that debt. But what I'm going to do for you for doing this is I'm going to get you the ability to have your military back. And I'm going to give you the ability to buy the weapons you need so you can hit the ground running.
Wow, everybody's...
It's a really easy decision for them to make.
Everybody's scratching their backs. So in other words, we say, hey, buy some more of our debt, buy $1 trillion, maybe take $2 if you really are ambitious, and then turn around and use that. Now that helps you, you have some money now, turn around and buy our new sophisticated equipment to help you shoot down your enemy's rockets. And in turn, that's fueling our economy. That's cranking up our jobs, good paying jobs, that gets our economy going. And everybody's winning here. And our debt's going down. Does that mean our debt goes down if somebody owns it? Are we still 21 trillion? How's that work?
We're still in debt, but what it is that the Federal Reserve is no longer in debt. So they now, we've talked about this too. The stock market's all-time high. We keep hearing that 75 days, all-time highs now. By clearing off the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, when we see the next correction, they can step in and do what we've done in the past, buy up all that debt again. What you don't want to do is have them add another 6-7 trillion to the 4 trillion they already have. So if they can offset that 4 trillion they have now they have a clean ledger. They can do it again.
And the wheels just keep on spinning. Okay, so okay, proud Mary keeps on burning. All right, so it just keeps going. All right, so but that still takes some arm twisting, a little bit of leverage. Trump may be doing that. He's playing the threat of Kim Jong-un for all it's worth. Yet at the same time, I see another side in that man. Besides, he knows, look, we gotta make some money in this deal. Everybody's got to start paying. He already went to NATO and said, you guys are going to pay. We're tired of picking up the tab. You guys are going to pay your share. He's already said it to the United Nations. We're not funding this no more. You guys are going to pick up your fair share. So he's forcing everybody to pay what America has been paying everybody's issues. The days of appeasement are over. And I like that. That's strong leadership. That's a little bit of Ronald Reagan there. That's actually a step further. That's another step past Reagan. And I got to give him credit for that. But in the end, he doesn't want war, really. I mean, nobody does. Nobody wants to see a nuke go off. But at the same time, Charles, he's not going to let this guy get away, is he?
He's not. And this is what happens when you have a CEO who runs the country. He understands business. Deals, he wrote Mastering the Deal. This is what this is. This is the deal in a global setting. And he's working every angle that he can. And it's exciting to see it happen. We haven't been in this position where we had some negotiating power. We are telling people, you're going to pay your own bills. Not only that, not only are you going to pay your own bills, you're going to pay some of my bills.
not only are you going to pay yours, but you're going to pay some of mine while you're at it. And we're going to make you, and you're going to enjoy doing it, okay? You're going to enjoy doing it. So anyway, that's the Donald Trump, Trumponomics. The Trump bump. There's no question the stock market is outrageously exploding. I keep saying, when is that thing going to fall? Or is it? I mean, if he fixes some of the debt distributing, maybe there isn't a correction. Maybe it is corrected. Maybe he's corrected it on. I heard one guy try to explain that to me. I sat there and scratched my head. But he said, no, we're not going to have a 3,000 point correction down. That's what he's doing. He's correcting it by pushing it up to where it will match. I don't know. Is that, I mean, what kind of mathematics is that? Is that possible here? Charles, this is Charles from Noble Gold. He's got all the answers. Put his number on the screen. There it is. Call him on the phone and find out what he can do for you in your economic situation, for your retirement. What are you doing for your retirement? Are you going to just go strictly with cash? Or are you going to use some precious metals? Maybe put some of it in the stock market. What's that number again, Brock? Put it on the screen. Just call Charles at Noble Gold because I think he does have the answers. Charles, 1-800-646-5347, or just go right to his website at Noble Gold and get the free book he's got. Brand new book out called Government Lies Exposed. Free ebook. Charles, can that be done? Can you correct it up instead of down?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. I didn't think so.
I wish we could. Here's the reality. The damage that is there has been there for such a long period of time. It can't be corrected that simply. There's some very economic principles that need to be corrected in the way the government has been run in the past that needed to be changed, and it doesn't happen quick and it doesn't happen easy, unfortunately. So unfortunately, no. Correct up? No. This is a bubble like any other bubble. And part of knowing that it's a bubble is when people say things like that. This is so good, it's going to go up again. That's how you really know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's a bubble.
Yeah.
When you refuse to believe that it can't possibly come down.
All right, Charles. Now let's talk about facts. Let's get real world here. We got some people watching that are just now retiring. Okay, they got $50,000 in their 401k. They got $100,000 in their 401k, or they're going to sell their house and downsize, and they got to figure out what to do. Do they put cash in the bank? Do they buy stock? Do they buy precious metals? What do you tell someone that's in this situation?
Diversity is always important. I've said that time and time again and always will. A portion should be in precious metals. It's one of the only investments that saves your purchasing power. And that's what we as Americans need to get in our mind again. It's not the amount of dollars that we have. It's what those dollars buy for us. That's what we care about. It's not the dollar itself. It's the standard of living that it provides us. And precious metals are the only thing that are going to stand up to inflation and a weakening dollar.
So what
a portion in gold. Then you have other options.
I just saw an ad. I was watching television last night, and some guy come on TV and said, silver's going to $200 an ounce. And I'm sitting there thinking, are you serious? Based on what? I mean, what is silver right now? $16, $17 an ounce, something like that?
Yes.
So how in the world can this guy run an ad and say, buy silver now, it's going to $200 an ounce? I mean, is he smoking something, or what's he thinking?
What I think, and it's not impossible for to do that. It really isn't. But to come out and say that it's going to $200, $2,000, whatever crazy number you want to choose, it's not that it won't get to $200 an ounce. It's the time frame.
Okay.
And we want to approach this with logic and reason. The last thing anyone wants to do is take the stock market and all the hysteria around it and then try to apply that to something else. Precious metals is not that investment. You leave the hysteria out. Can silver get to $200? Absolutely. It's extremely undervalued where it's at now. Okay? But it doesn't happen quickly, and that's not why you do it.
Okay, now
You do it for the safety. And when it gets to 200, you think to yourself, wow, if I'd have stayed in dollars, they'd be worth nothing right now.
So here's a couple things happening then. people are wondering what to do. Right now, with the stock market soaring, do you invest in the stock market, or do you say maybe that's getting off track, maybe that's going to come down? Is it safer to go with metals, or is it safer to stay with cash, especially if Trump's able to work off some of this debt by selling this debt and correcting the balance sheet, I guess, is what you're kind of doing, the national balance sheet. But are we still printing money? I mean, Barack Obama was doing this quantum easing. I mean, he had every printing press there known to man printing as hard as, in fact, working overtime. I mean, are we still doing that?
Yes.
That kills me, okay, Charles? I mean, it just kills me to hear that, because it doesn't have a standard? Is it just printing?
And that's the thing too. There's two forms of printing money nowadays. There's actually printing the bills that we see, but then we have the other form of currency that people don't think about. The one that doesn't take a printing press. You go on your computer, you hit a couple digits, and you put another $1 trillion into the economy, but you do it on those credit cards that we all like and those debit cards we all like.
Wow.
Put some extra zeros in the big banks, right? And they circulate it out.
Well, who's making that decision? Is that the central bankers? Is that Janet Yellen's gone,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that is the Federal Reserve, and there's an interesting thing happened. We're going to have some new governors on the central bank and the Federal Reserve Committee. And President Trump has nominated a couple of them. He has the ability to do that. But the most important position is the president of the New York Federal Reserve. He can't nominate for that. That's something that they vote on from within themselves.
Wow, is that the Illuminati? Is that when the Bilderberg guys get together? And is that who makes this decision?
Never been to a meeting, but they sure seem to know what's going to happen.
Every time the Bilderbergs get together, it's like a week or two later, a major adjustment. Like Zimbabwe's currency crashes, or Ben Bernanke's fired, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I often say every time Bilderberg meets, I lose money.
Wow.
Money every time they get together.
Wow. Folks, this is Charles and Noble Gold, and what an the cost of war. And is there going to be a South Asian Armageddon? And I'm really asking this question. Since you keep saying Kim Jong-un is a madman, and I have to agree with you, is this guy going to pull the trigger and shoot one of these little nukes into Tokyo or into Seoul, South Korea? And if so, what happens? Does China step up? Do we go to war? Do we jump in? What happens? Is there going to be a South Asian Armageddon?
And that's the issue, is no one can say for sure. He's crazy enough to do it. We don't know. And that's the worst thing that can happen when you're trying to create policies and trying to establish control and normalcy in the world. When you have someone who is an unknown, that's your biggest issue. And he is completely unknown. We just don't know what he will do.
Wow. Well, folks, listen, again, Charles, you got a great company, a Christian company. You're very conservative. You work with people. You care about people. So you take, if somebody calls you and says, here's my situation, I need advice on what to do, you're about helping the individual and what's best for them, okay? And so you always say diversity, and diversify your portfolio. So they need to pick up the phone and call you, don't they? That's
the best way. That's the only way I can help.
I'm going to put your link in the description below, and so that if they click, and I've been doing that, a lot of almost every video I do, you'll see in the description, folks. If you scroll down in there, you'll see Noble Gold, and you can click on it. It takes you right to his site. And when you get there, he's got a phone number right there for you on the front page, the home page, so you can pick up the phone and call him. And the folks there will really help you figure out what you're trying to do. I got folks who say to me, Pastor, it's not going to really matter. It's the last days. Right, it is the last days. But guess what? Until the Lord comes back, we're to occupy. We have a responsibility. We still have families and responsibilities until he comes. Charles,
Absolutely.
any last words of wisdom for us?
I think we've covered it pretty well here. Maybe it's a little too well. We may have gone into a few more subjects than we wanted to. But, if you have questions, give us a call. That's the best way. Get an answer. There's nothing better than an informed decision. And that's what we're here to help you do.
Amen. There you hear it, folks. Good guy. Charles, Noble Gold. Check it out. And we'll have him back again. Until next time, keep trusting the Lord and keep looking up. And talk to Charles at Noble Gold. All right? God bless.